Hey there team, welcome back to the channel and welcome to Worth Your Time, Worth Your Money, an ongoing segment where I look at the opening hours of new and upcoming games. And today we're talking about Are We There Yet? Now this might be a bit of a controversial video. According to all reception and all your favorite YouTubers and streamers are playing this and it's got very positive reviews, but I was apprehensive going into it. I haven't really taken the time to put into words or thoughts what my problem is with this sort of game, but it did throw red flags. However, I found myself with a key and a bunch of mates wanted to give it a go, so we did. And while there were laughs to be had, I'm not saying it was an entirely negative experience. I come away from it a bit frustrated and disappointed. Whatever this emergent genre you would like to call multiplayer slop. I've heard the term slop thrown around a lot, and this video is going to serve as a little bit of a discussion around that. So before I delve into that and my personal misgivings with the direction, the trajectory that some of these multiplayer games are on in the industry, and how broadly speaking I think it should be stamped out and shouldn't be really encouraged, I will confess for what it is, what it's trying to be, which is something with a very thin, repetitive gameplay loop for like 10% of what's there, and the other 90% are enabling, performative, multiplayer tools, right? Hey guys, I did a funny thing, everyone look at me, which is this trickle on downstream second degree removed new wave, I guess, riding on the backs of streamers, right? Streamer bait type games. We've seen that as well. It's all sort of in the same boiling pot. So I guess it does it well. If that's what you're looking for, if you are looking for what I would call a thin game, but it's an excuse for you and the boys to, I don't know, get drunk in Discord and laugh at silliness happening, jank, but it's supposed to be janky, or it's fun and charming because it's janky. Like, it's all there. And I'm coming across as cranky and a bit snarky, but I am honestly, through it all, trying to give an honest recommendation to those which this game does in fact appeal, which is more and more of a base. So there you go. There's your video. There's your review, or whatever you want to call it. Go get it if it's your kind of thing, and I wish you many happy returns. I've got a lot of angles that I can come from to interrogate this emergent slop genre, but I'll put some things on the table and just see if it resonates with anyone. If you have any thoughts, feedback's welcome. Pushback, as long as everyone's polite and we have decorum. But this is going to turn into a wider discussion. I think to myself of when I was sitting around playing 4-player split screen co-op Halo, right? Whether it was co-op Halo 3 or bloody getting 16 players LAN linked together in a garage playing Halo 1, right? Trying to get your headshots with pistols. If this game existed then, if you dropped this right in the height of that mateship bound in like sweatiness, early progenitor of sweaty gaming, this would have been laughed out of the room. Get this slop away from me. This is not a game. What is this even, right? It's this thin thing with movie props in it. I know I'm talking broadly, but there are many games like this. So I think about the degradation, the downward slide that we've had in what isn't acceptable for multiplayer. Then I also think about things like the advent of, maybe if you're a bit older like me, you remember Jackbox, the Jackbox party pack and all that. You don't know Jack. And they were sort of really early versions of whatever this is, sort of lubricators. Maybe you're all about to go out for drinks and have a night out and you're semi-buzzed. You're in the uncomfortable state where everyone's going to start getting pissed, but you kind of want to jump off. And so you're going to play this sort of trivia, kind of board game, kind of video game, but it's not really a video game, at least in the, let's say, prudish core, hardcore sense of the term. It's something else. It's filler. It's something that you will play, like I said, on a Friday night before you go out for drinks for maybe an hour just to get lubed up a little bit, and then off you go. Like, there are these fringe cases of non-games in which this inhabits. But then, jumping forward of my little timeline that I'm playing out, then you get streamers, right? And streamer bait games. I don't think things like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy was intentionally streamer bait, but it definitely spawned an entire category of infuriating games to play. Not just difficult, but kind of broken, messy, janky crap. Difficult by poor design. Right? You give me a game that's incredibly hard to play and control, then it's going to be difficult, but not because the developer fine-tuned it. I mean, all of that's designed to get a performative theatre kid reaction out of your favourite streamer. And then you get onto the Critical Role conversation. I've brought this up before and what that did to Dungeons and Dragons. How that used to be a game about stats and all that for nerds, right? We the nerds played it. The number crunchers, the math students, the science kids. We played Dungeons and Dragons and we enjoyed it. And then nowadays you have the theatre kids taking it over. And there might be a game with some mechanics in there, but as I've sort of said in the past before, Critical Role is a bunch of C-tier actors trying desperately to grab the microphone off of each other and get their moment in the spotlight and perform and create and scene out of whatever part of the game that they're playing. Forget the D20s and the 18 strength and all this sort of stuff. All of that shit takes a back seat to dancing for the camera. Everything in that space has become performative. So there's been this sort of theatre kid dance for the camera performative takeover in a lot of gaming spaces. And this to me is just the next step along. Scarlett, why don't you just leave well enough alone? Sure, each to their own. Enjoy whatever makes you happy. That's one angle. But then, I present to you the advent of bloody hentai shovelware games on Steam. They're everywhere. It's out of control. And, even though roguelite deck builder type games are still games, and we talk about this a lot recently, how generally speaking they're 80% fine because they all just copy their previous predecessors, it doesn't stop the fact that that entire genre is flooded and slop and shoveled. And there are people that if you say roguelite deck builder to them, they will just outright refuse to engage with it because the genre has been absolutely flooded. And this, happens in that indie space more than anything. And that's what we're seeing happen now. So look, I've thrown a lot of vectors at you, a lot of things that have been percolating and boiling under the hood for me. And that's how you end up with these games. They're not really games. What they are is an excuse to put a bunch of people in the same room that want to be like their favorite streamer. They want to perform in front of the lads, which honestly, none of my old lads that I grew up with that I would have played Halo 1 with would have really been into this either. Hey guys, I'm doing a funny. Look at me. This very strange parasocial, perverse, downstream removed. I have an audience of 3 in a 4-man stack. This imitation at the micro scale in your living room of the streamer doing a funny because the game accidentally glitched. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm playing Battlefield 6 like crazy at the moment. Great game. Not uncommon for a dude to accidentally glitch into the sky. It is obviously a bug in the game, but it's not intended. It's not the reason you're playing. And you'll have a laugh because it's unusual. But that's going to get patched out eventually. That's not working as intended. It's a little cheeky moment. It's not what Battlefield 6 is about. It's not what it hangs its hat on. It's not designed to create, whoa, funny, janky moments. They just happen to happen when something breaks. Maybe this is all a bit all over the place. But again, like I said, this is multiple things all adding up together. And I'm barely talking about this game. Whatever. The people that disagree with me have already told me to go fuck myself. They've left and they've gone and bought the game. That's fine. This is me more of a cautionary warning in the trajectory of multiplayer gaming, in that there are a bunch of, like I said, tourist types that are coming in, designing these games, shoveling them out, trying to get a quick buck out of you that aren't games at all. They're training tools for the Glee Club. Now, inversely, almost the same group I'm playing with, I've got a couple of regulars that rotate through. We've been playing a firefighting game, Firefighter Simulator, I think it's called. It's not very complicated, by Astragon. And that is skill-based, coordinated. 4-player co-op, fight the fire. You have to control the atmosphere, the temperature. You have backdrafts and flashovers if you don't actually control temperature. We just played a mission the other day where we didn't let a giant fuel tank, it got too hot actually by proximity to flame. It detonated and killed 3 of our firefighters. It's an excellent game. We had to stop playing it for a couple of days because one bloke was away on work busy. And we were itching to play this random game that doesn't breach more than a couple hundred players on Steam concurrently at all. And yet it's one of the best multiplayer experiences I've played of all this year. This coordinated, concerted game with a really interesting loop, fighting a fire that behaves more like an antagonistic AI than anything. Yeah, you're joking and laughing while one dickhead's driving to the fire from point A to point B and crashing into signs. But when you get there, it's on. You're switched on. Old mate, number 1, he's doing supply lines. Number 2's doing attack lines. Me and number 3, we're doing Halligan bars and bloody hatchets. We're going to search and rescue, looking for people, breaking in doors, points of entry, ventilation lines. That's a game. It's not going to necessarily be for everyone, but it helps round out my point. Which way, modern gamer? Do you want to follow the downslope that's being led full charge by the tourist theatre kids that just want a mini platform for them to do a funny in a game that's not actually a game? Or do you want to actually encourage games for gamers that are fun to the core? So are we there yet? I wouldn't recommend it. Who knows how this video goes, right? Because people clicking on it are obviously interested in it. This might go poorly, but it's still getting my thoughts out there. And this may be the first and last of any of these red flag type slot multiplayer games that I do cover on the channel. There may be exceptions to the rules, but I wouldn't be surprised if said hypothetical exception was only an exception because it turns out to be more of a game than this was. So I wouldn't waste your money or your time. And nothing against my friends group at all. Don't get me wrong. They're good blokes and good sports. And this may just be a vanity piece for me being out of touch with the kids these days. I get that. But there's also the other angle in that I am so entrenched in all video games. I sift just about anything of note coming out that there is also the chance that I'm a little bit ahead of the curve and I can see the next wave of shovel slop in industry. And I don't know, if maybe someone saw Critical Role and the theatre kids coming to D&D, the community could have rallied and saved that hobby a little bit quicker. It might be that what I've had to say here today are valid words of warning, just a little bit ahead of their time. Who can say? Time will tell. But I'm not really interested in covering these half-measured games anymore on the channel. All right, at a certain point, I'm just going to be waffling, but I feel like I've conveyed all my points that I had to get across without necessarily attacking anyone particular, or at least anyone that calls themselves a gamer. The game, as it were, by technical definition, does exactly what it sets out to do. So good for it and good for those that find it and want to play it. But on the other side of it, I would love to see less of this stuff. Stamp this out, gatekeep it out. Anyway, I don't know how to end this, so we'll stop it there. Goodbye.